So Earl's passing is a tremendous loss to the Pratt Whitney community. Over a span of more than 25 years, Earl was an extraordinary colleague and an extraordinary friend. Throughout his career, Earl held a number of significant roles, assignments that were critical to the company's success. The chairman of the International Aero Engines joint venture is a massive portion of Pratt Whitney's business. President of mature commercial engines and V2500 engine programs are our largest programs and critical to program success. Earl held many other roles during that time, but those were amongst the most significant. By any measure, Earl's career is a success, but there is more, much more to the story. So allow me to expand a bit on this story. The vast amount of relationships and friendships that he formed along the way will truly set him apart. He was outspoken, for sure, about his values and his beliefs, and he inspired others to be their authentic selves always. Earl was passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion. He was the driving force at Pratt Whitney behind the development of what is now known as the Black Excellence Network, which is evolved into a thriving corporation-wide employee resource group. And he also served on the corporation's advisory council, working to establish a lasting, inclusive culture. No matter how busy he was, Earl always made time to be an active mentor, sponsor for many, and building the next generation of leaders at Pratt Whitney. And we spent many years with offices side by side, and I can't tell you how many times I would walk out of my office and there would be people stacked up, early career folks in our business waiting to get in for their 10 minutes, 15 minutes with Earl. Earl was a fixture at the local community, supporting many groups and nonprofits, including the Air Museum. Pratt & Whitney has a proud history with this museum. We have collaborated for decades on STEM programming for local youth, but most recently, and which has already been talked about, thanks to Earl's leadership, the relationship expanded, including programming that focuses on DE&I in aviation. The Tuskegee Airmen exhibit that we are all enjoying here today would not have been possible without his leadership in the community and at Pratt Whitney. So for me personally, and Steffi alluded to it to some extent, I've known Earl via our Pratt Whitney working relationship for more than 20 years, but it is the last decade or a little bit more that I can say that we worked closely together. And as I warned some of you before we came up, he and I have worked some very challenging and high-profile projects together. He was always cool, as you all know, under pressure, and always totally engaged in our mission. One thing that would bring a smile to my face was when Earl would come to get an opinion, or he would come over to get thoughts on a topic, something that he was working on. And I'm sure what I'm about to say has happened to many of you. After the completion of the discussion, more times than not, I would say, wow, I just learned something. And he was the one that was asking me the question. So just amazing. He was inquisitive, he was kind, and he taught by being just himself. So we miss Earl deeply and continue to mourn his loss. At the same time, we're inspired by the example that he set every day, and it is clear that his legacy will live on at Pratt Whitney and will live on here at the New England Air Museum. So I want to thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you again to the New England Air Museum for this wonderful gesture. Thank you, everyone.
That was beautiful, Joe. Thank you. For over 15 years, Dennis Williams has been a constant present in Tammy and Earl's world, a beloved friend and confidant. Please welcome Dennis Williams.
I am honored to speak with you this evening. As a former captain in the United States Army, Air Defense Artillery Patriot Missile Systems, as a grandson of a man who provided ground support for the Tuskegee Airmen in a small town that I grew up in called Walterboro, South Carolina, just outside of Charleston, and as a very close friend of Earl Exum, Tammy, and his sons. I tell you, the stars certainly aligned when Earl and the New England Air Museum partnered to bring together the Tuskegee Airmen exhibit to life. This project brought together Earl's distinguished career in the aviation industry and his passion for amplifying the contributions of Black people in America. When he put his mind to something, it was gonna get done. This exhibit is a testament to his commitment and dedication. So I'm gonna let you inside our close family circle, if it's okay with Tammy. What I remember the most about Earl was that he was a joyful human being and liked to find time away from all of the things that's bustling and hustling and swirling all around us. He would find time to spend with his family, to work out, to read, catch up on current events. And he was also very intentional about staying connected with friends. And oh, how he loved spending time and looking forward to getting on Martha's Vineyard every summer. And he never, ever met a stranger. So Earl and Tammy are not just close friends. They're indeed family to us. There have been many nights we've just sat around on the couch, ordering takeout, watching a game, dancing to our favorite songs. And even during the 2 years of the COVID quarantine, we did virtual hangouts and parties on Zoom. Music was constant in our lives. While Tammy's playlist requests were older classics like Tina Marie's Square Hills, Earl's requests were a bit more contemporary. He loved, now stay with me, how many of you have seen the play called Hamilton? Just not show of hands. Earl loved the musical Hamilton, and even had it playing constantly in his car on repeat. He loved it for its historical context, creative storytelling, and overall entertainment value. We all love listening to that soundtrack and often joke that the songs provided an answer for almost every life situation. So as I look at Earl's life, I see parallels between Earl and the character depiction of Alexander Hamilton, in that they both lived the most of their time and wanted to get the most of their time out of every day and every hour they spent. Earl seemed to be doing everything, everywhere, all at once. I tell you, it was hard to keep track of all the things that Earl was involved in. When I think of his energy and work ethic, I think of the Hamilton lyric, "That man was non-stop." Comes to mind quickly. This is the song from Non-Stop, which is the last song in Act 1 of the musical Hamilton. So as I grappled with his loss, it finally hit me. Earl just did the biggest delegation act a person could do. And I know you're wondering, hey Dennis, what do you mean? Well, think about it. You cannot look at Earl's life and accomplishments and possibly sit back and say, hey, I'm good, I've done enough. He would counter with, you've got a lot more to do, right? I believe Earl left us with a few action items. Number one, know your history and be curious about the world. The 17th song in Act 1 of Hamilton is History Has Its Eyes on You. And it deals with the human struggle for meaning, to understand the meaning and significance of leaving a lasting legacy. Earl was an adventurous and curious person. He loved to read, particularly nonfiction books, and study history, all history, and particularly Black history. He had a passion for bringing to light the hidden figures who have contributed to our nation's history, such as the Tuskegee Airmen. Earl once said, about a year or so ago, when he was letting me know he was working with Pratt and other organizations to bring this exhibit to life, that we're standing on the shoulders of giants. So I believe Earl left us with a to-do to learn our history, to be curious about the world, and to always celebrate those who came before us. Number two, leave the world better than you found it. The third song in Act 1 of the musical Hamilton, I'm Not Throwing Away My Shot. To me, this song captures the essence of young ambition, the desire to seize the opportunity of the day, and the energy of doing what is necessary to succeed. As my good friend Larry Jones said at Earl's memorial service, Earl ran a sprint, not a marathon. And he got the job done, just in shorter time. Earl was dedicated and ambitious with his own education and career pursuits. And he was also selfless with his time. And he poured his talents and his love into others. Everything that Earl touched, he enhanced it. He multiplied it. He left a foundation for others to build upon his success. And I worked with Earl on various projects. When Earl accepted a title, an assignment, or enrolled, he did so with the full expectation that he was going to give it 100%. So I believe Earl left us with the to-do to engage deeply and to leave whatever we touch better than we found it. And number three, empower others. The 9th song in Act 2 is One Last Time. And in this song, George Washington is explaining to Alexander Hamilton that he's stepping down as president after 2 terms. And of course, Hamilton panics, but Washington stands firm, saying that if I say goodbye, the nation learns to move on. It outlives me when I'm gone. Earl poured so much into others through mentoring, coaching, leading by example. He left a roadmap for his colleagues, and even as a parent for his children, to build upon what he has established. While it's not okay for us to know all things, and some things are just what they are relative to our time on this earth, I believe Earl left us with a to-do, to coach, to mentor, and to nurture others. And seek out to prepare the next generation to lead. So as I conclude, the final song in the musical Hamilton, who lives? Who dies? Who tells your story? Here, Hamilton's wife, Eliza, talks about how Hamilton lived and how hard he worked, as if time was running out. The various characters recite all of Hamilton's significant accomplishments and achievements, and how much of his work still lives on today. His wife, Eliza, expresses her commitment to tell his story, to preserve his legacy and promises to continue to work in the honor of his memory. And our beloved Tammy is doing the same for Earl. So I want to thank the New England Air Museum for honoring our dear friend Earl by making him a permanent fixture in the Tuskegee Airmen exhibit. You are helping to tell Earl's story. I'm also grateful for all of the other contributions that Earl made, such as Raytheon naming a boardroom after Earl, and the Earl Exum Memorial Fund that will continue Earl's passion for supporting the community and nonprofit organizations. These are just a few examples of how generations to come will know that man was nonstop. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Dennis. That was absolutely incredible. Thank you for that personal view of Earl. As you might guess, every time Earl walked through the doors of this museum, no matter what the occasion, whether it was for a video, for a conference, to be on stage with me, or to host a business after hours, he always carried his family with him. Tammy, he was so proud of your accomplishments. There was a glow about him when he spoke about you. It was palpable. Evan, Kyle, and Jonathan, the pride he felt for each of you was also palpable. He didn't just speak of his sons, his whole being lit up with joy. My crew and I just used to soak that in. He had such deep pride in your individual accomplishments and your characters. And now it is with great honor and privilege that I welcome Evan Exum.
Hello everyone, my name is Evan Exum. I am the oldest son of Earl Exum, currently a supply chain analyst at RTRC. My dad passing on October 1st, 2023 was the worst day of my life. This happened 2 weeks before my 27th birthday, making it the hardest birthday I ever had. I cried more than 1,000 times. I concluded that I know life is unfair, but thank God for the experience. My dad was not only my father, he was my best friend in the world, my mentor, my idol, and my favorite person ever. He told me to be the best version of yourself, and one day, I hope to be just like him. He is truly my #1 fan, and I am his #1 fan. When I was 7 years old, our relationship really took off when he became my football and basketball coach. We started watching football and basketball games together. He saw my competitive spirit and coached me on ways to improve my game. He was a football genius. When we watched football games together, he would always know which play was coming. He was the best human being ever. Everyone felt so bad when Coach Exum passed away. In 9th grade, my dad and I started working out together. He really got me into fitness. At that moment, I started to realize my dad's success because he would tell me stories about his job and how he was progressing in his career. He was a Cornell University graduate, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and was very successful at Pratt & Whitney. A conversation came up during a workout about how I was doing in school. A conversation I did not want to have because I did not want to talk about school. During a workout together in 10th grade, he said, "Evan, I know you're doing good in sports, but it's time to do better in school." I said, "I'm not good at school." He said, "Evan, even during the hard days when you're tired, just pay attention and study for at least 2 hours. Trust me, I know you could do good in school." He said, "Knowledge and education is something you need to have the rest of your life. Sports do not last forever." Ever since my dad told me that, I became an honor roll student consistently. Something he told me to always remember is that success is earned, not inherited. During COVID, we spent a lot of time together at the house, so we played Connect 4, horse outside and basketball, and checkers. This special time allowed me to witness the competitive spirit he had since he was a kid. I got to witness it in person. That man was so competitive that he challenged me to read 10 pages every day. Since then, I read books consistently. I had to challenge him back to see who could dress nicer and get a better haircut. The Tuskegee Airmen was the first African American military for airmen. Black people were not allowed to become pilots in the military until President Franklin Roosevelt in 1939 opened a training for African Americans who had intentions of becoming a pilot. The pilots flew as a group right next to each other. A big job was for the pilots to protect the bombers. Before World War II, black people were not allowed to fly advanced pilots. My dad had a huge impact in the community to help with diversity, including WASCO, Black Excellence, and the Urban League. He wanted to make sure that every person gets the fair opportunity they deserve. My dad was a mentor to so many people. A big reason he focused on diversity is because there are a lot of smart people who do not get the opportunity to reach their full potential. One day I hope to do the same thing for the next generation because I want people of diversity that work hard to become very successful. My dad had a huge impact on other people's lives, coming from a working class family. He wanted to help people with similar backgrounds as him, if not more disadvantaged backgrounds than his own. Sometimes he gave out his business cards to help people by becoming their mentor. He would give speeches at events talking about how to find resources and take advantage of the opportunity. I thank the New England Air Museum for helping my father and Pratt & Whitney for his 27-year career. It really means a lot to me and shows me how important it is to help other people. Everybody who is in my dad's life, I want in my life. I thank Pratt & Whitney for naming an executive boardroom after him, Earl Exum. Dad, you are still my best friend in the world today, even though you are in heaven. I thank you so much for showing me how to work hard, never give up, and be a professional. I one day have a dream to be successful just like you, if not more. Losing you is the hardest thing I will have to deal with the rest of my life. I have a dream to help people of diversity just like you did. Dad, I promise to protect your legacy. I will live up to my first name, not just my last name.
Evan, that was amazing. We are all sending love your way. So Tad called me this morning, and we actually have an incredible gift that I had never expected, and I'm going to actually let Tammy explain what it is.
Good evening. I can't tell you how incredibly special this evening has been. Thank you, Stephanie, to the New England Air Museum for this amazing opportunity to remember Earl and his life, and also to highlight what was really important to him, and to Pratt & Whitney, to my dear friends, to my family, and for you coming tonight. You just have no idea how much it means to me and to my family. So I was not expecting to say anything this evening, and the other day I was looking at something that Earl had, I was looking at scrolling through something, and I typed in Tuskegee Airmen, and his comments for the event that took place here last year. Was that this year? It was this year. This has been such a rough year. They were there, and I called Stephanie and said, you know, I think it would be wonderful if I could share Earl's own words about this exhibit. And the first thing he had was how the word is passed. And to contextualize this, Earl had this book because we went to hear this fabulous Arthur Clint Smith, who was a Stowe Prize winner. And the book really essentially is, and I'll just quote an excerpt to contextualize, a deeply researched and transporting exploration of the legacy of slavery and its imprint on centuries of American history. How the word is passed illustrates how some of our country's most essential stories are hidden in plain view. Whether in places we might drive by on our way to work, holidays such as Juneteenth, or entire neighborhoods like downtown Manhattan, where the brutal history of the trade as enslaved men, women, and children has been deeply imprinted. Informed by scholarship and brought to life by the stories of people living today, Smith's debut work of nonfiction is a landmark of reflection and insight that offers a new understanding of the hopeful role that memory and history can play in making sense of our country and how it has come to be. Earl said, it's been my honor to chair the steering committee that brought the exhibit to fruition. We must preserve this history or it will be lost or rewritten. There are efforts underway throughout the country to discourage the sharing of this type of important history. I'm particularly proud that my employer, Pratt & Whitney, and IAE, International Aero Engine AG, made significant contributions, and Pratt & Whitney is recognized at the entrance of the exhibit as a partner that helped to bring it to fruition. This has been one of the most rewarding things about being part of this process. The honor of meeting and hearing the living history directly from the Tuskegee Airmen. In life, we are fortunate if we get to make a meaningful contribution. I am lucky to be part of this process. In closing, I am so excited the exhibit is finally here. I think it will be a destination for visitors and an inspiration for future generations. Thank you so much for being here. And I'd also like to encourage you to please continue to visit this wonderful place. So many people have said, I've never been here before. I've never seen this place before, but now we've been here, we've seen it. It's fantastic. Not only do they deserve the recognition and support, but it would also help to support Earl's legacy. Thank you so much.